Emma stood in the corner. Silent. Always silent. Her cousin Rose twirled in silk dresses. Blue ones. Pink ones. Each more beautiful than the last. Emma wore gray wool. Always gray. Like shadows. Like nothing. Look at her, Mother said. Her voice was sharp, cold. Plain as bread. No man will want her. Emma's hands were rough. From work. From cleaning. From serving others. Rose had soft hands. White as cream. Perfect for a lady. Perfect for everything. Emma could never be. Rose practiced her smile in the mirror. The one that made men stop and stare. Emma practiced being invisible. She was better at it.
Why can't you be more like Rose?
Mother asked. Every day, the same question. Emma had no answer. She just wasn't. The letter came at dawn. A rider in fine clothes. A seal with a duke's crest. Mother's hands shook as she read. Duke William needed a bride. Mother smiled at Rose. Her first real smile in months. Finally, our chance has come. But Rose needed help. She couldn't travel alone. Someone must dress her. Fix her hair. Make her beautiful. Mother looked at Emma, the way she always did. Like a tool. A thing to be used. You'll go too. As her maid. Maybe you'll learn something about your place. Emma packed their bags. Her few things fit in one small box. Rose needed 3 trunks. Silk and lace. Jewels and perfume. Everything to catch a duke. Everything Emma would never have. The night before leaving, Emma sat by her window, watched the stars, made a small wish. A foolish one. Maybe someone would see her. Not her face. Her heart. But wishes were for people like Rose. Not for shadows like her. The journey was long. 2 days by coach. Rose complained constantly. Too hot. Too cold. Too bumpy. The seats were hard. The food was bad. Everything was wrong. Emma said nothing. She never did. Just listened. Agreed. Fixed what could be fixed. That was her job. Her life. At every stop, men stared. At Rose's. Always at Rose. They helped her down. Brought her water. Smiled their best smiles. Emma pulled her hood lower. Hide the plain face. Hide the work-worn hands. Be invisible. It was easier that way. When we arrive, Rose said, fixing her golden hair. Stay quiet. Don't embarrass me. The Duke is rich, powerful. This is my chance to be a duchess. Emma nodded. She understood her place. Always had. The shadow. The servant. The one nobody saw. The one nobody wanted to see. But deep inside, she had dreams too. Small ones. Hidden deep. Of someone seeing her. Really seeing her. Of mattering. Of being more than just nothing. The coach stopped. Emma looked out the window. Her breath caught. The Duke's home was huge. Stone walls reached up to touch the sky. Gardens stretched as far as she could see. Fountains sparkled in sunlight. This was another world. A fairy tale world. Remember, Mother had said before they left. You're there to help Rose. Nothing more. Don't get ideas above your station. Emma helped Rose down from the couch. Fixed her dress. Smoothed her golden hair. Made her perfect. As always, Rose was good at being perfect. Emma was good at making others perfect. A man waited by the grand entrance. Tall, broad shoulders, dark hair that caught the light. He must be a servant, too young to be the Duke, too kind-looking. Emma looked away quickly. Even servants were above her station. Lady Rose? His voice was deep, kind, not what she expected from a Duke's household. Rose giggled, used her pretty laugh, the one she practiced in mirrors. Yes, I'm here to meet Duke William. The man smiled, but something was strange. His eyes moved past Rose, past all her silk and jewels, landed on Emma, and stayed there. Emma's cheeks burned hot. She stepped back, into shadows where she belonged. Welcome, he said, still looking at Emma. Both? Nobody ever welcomed the maid. Emma's heart skipped a beat. Dangerous. Don't hope. Don't dream. You know your place. You've always known your place.
Sit.
Duke William watched from his window above. The 2 women had arrived, one golden like sunshine, one hidden like moonlight. He'd seen this many times before. Beauty on display, truth hidden away. He wasn't supposed to greet them, not proper, but he couldn't resist. He had to see for himself. The cousin who wrote such pretty letters. And the other one. The quiet one who wrote nothing at all. His advisor, James, found him in the hall. You met them already? That wasn't the plan. Your Grace? William shrugged. He'd stopped caring about plans, about what was proper. I was curious. And? Is she suitable? Lady Rose seems perfect. Beautiful. Accomplished. Everything a duke needs in a wife. Perfect. William hated that word. His mother was perfect. Cold as winter stone. Sharp as broken glass. Perfect meant empty. Perfect meant fake. Perfect meant pain. Perhaps, William said, we'll see at dinner. He'd agreed to this arrangement. Find a wife. Produce an heir. Save the family name. Keep the bloodline going. But after Margaret, he wanted something real. Something true. Margaret was perfect too. On the outside, golden hair, sweet smile. She'd fooled everyone, even him, until he found her, with his brother, in his own bed, his wedding bed. The scandal nearly destroyed him. She'd wanted his money, his title, his power, not him, never him, just what he could give her, just what he could buy her. The family needs an heir, James reminded him. The line must continue. William knew. Everyone reminded him. Every day. So he agreed to try again. But this time, he'd be more careful. This time he'd look deeper. Lady Rose seemed like Margaret. Same practice laugh. Same flutter of golden lashes. Same way of tilting her head just so. But the other one, she'd tried to hide. Pulled her hood down low. Stayed in Rose's shadow. But he'd seen her eyes. Gray like storm clouds. Honest. Afraid. Real. What about the companion? William asked. Who is she? James checked his notes. Lady Emma. Rose's cousin. Here is her personal maid. Her cousin serves her. The poor relation. Your Grace. Mother died when she was young. Father lost everything gambling. The family took her in, as a servant. Charity, really. William's jaw tightened. He knew about family cruelty. His own mother, best not to think of her. Of locked rooms and cold words. Of being told he'd never be good enough. Set another place at dinner. For Lady Emma. James frowned. Your Grace, she's a servant. That's not proper protocol. I decide what's proper. In my house. William's voice was firm. Final. She's a guest. She'll be treated as one. William walked away. He had work to do. Letters to write. Accounts to check. The boring parts of being a duke. But his mind wandered. To gray eyes. To hidden faces. To someone trying so hard to disappear. He'd been that person once. After Margaret's betrayal. Wanting to vanish. To not exist. Until he learned something important. You can't hide from yourself forever. Only face the truth. And grow stronger. Sang. The sun set slowly. Dinner time approached. William dressed carefully. Not to impress. He'd given up trying to impress anyone. But to show respect. These women had traveled far. They deserved courtesy. Kindness. He entered the dining hall. Rose sat waiting. Stunning in blue silk that matched her eyes. Diamonds sparkled at her white throat. She stood gracefully. Curtsied perfectly. She smiled that practiced smile that never reached her eyes. Your Grace, I'm so deeply honored to meet you. Pretty words. Empty words. Like music without meaning. William nodded politely, but looked past her. Around her. Where is Lady Emma? Rose blinked. Confusion flickered across her perfect features. Emma, she's in her room. She's just a maid. Your Grace, she's your cousin, and she's my guest. Please invite her to join us. Rose's smile cracked. Just for a moment, of course. If you truly wish it. She left with rustling silk. Returned minutes later with Emma, who still wore the same gray dress. No jewels, no silk, no ornaments. But her face, clean and honest and terrified. Lady Emma. William stood, bowed slightly. Welcome to my home. Please, sit with us. Emma's gray eyes went wide with shock. I couldn't, Your Grace. It's not right. It's not proper. I insist. Please. She sat carefully. On the very edge of her chair. Ready to run. Like a wild bird that might fly away. Rose's face was tight with anger. But controlled. Always controlled. Always perfect. William smiled. This dinner would be interesting. Very interesting indeed. Emma's hands shook under the table. Where no one could see. This was wrong. All wrong. Servants don't eat with dukes. They serve dukes. They stay invisible. They know their place. The food looked like art. Too beautiful to eat. Gold plates, crystal glasses, silver forks that gleamed like stars. She didn't know which fork to use first. Which spoon was for what? Rose knew these things. Rose always knew. Tell me about your journey, the Duke said, looking directly at her. Why was he looking at her? Emma's mouth went dry as dust. It was, fine, your grace. Fine, he smiled. Those kind eyes again. Not mocking, not cruel, just interested. 2 days in a bumpy coach? That sounds rather difficult. Rose jumped in quickly. Her voice was like silver bells. Oh, it was absolutely terrible. The roads were so dreadfully rough, and the inns, barely fit for animals. Really. The Duke nodded politely, but kept watching Emma, waiting. And you, Lady Emma, what did you think of the journey? Emma swallowed hard. The countryside was very pretty, your grace. I saw sheep in green fields, and wheat growing tall and golden. You noticed the sheep and wheat. His smile grew warmer. You like simple things. Was that wrong? Emma wasn't sure. Yes, your grace. I suppose I do. So do I. He took a bite of his food. I raise sheep on my lands, and grow wheat for my tenants. They're good, honest creatures. The sheep, I mean. Simple, true to their nature. Rose laughed. Her practiced laugh, like tiny silver bells. Sheep, your grace. How wonderfully rustic. The Duke's smile faded slightly. Emma felt bad for him. Rose didn't mean to be unkind. She just lived in a different world. A world of silk and parties and pretty things. Sheep give us wool, Emma said quietly. Wool keeps people warm in winter. That seems important. The Duke's eyes lit up like candles. Exactly right, you understand completely. The meal continued. Rose tried her best to charm him. She talked about parties in London, about fashion and music, about all the important people she knew. The Duke listened, polite but distant, like he was somewhere else entirely. Then he turned to Emma again. Do you read, Lady Emma? Yes, your grace. Then quickly, worried she'd said something wrong. When I'm able to find books, they're quite precious. What kind of books do you enjoy? Anything at all. Stories about far places. Poems that make you feel things. Even, she hesitated, even books about farming and growing things. Rose laughed again, louder this time. Farming guides. Emma. How terribly dull. Emma's cheeks burned with shame. She shouldn't have said that. Too strange. Too different. Too much like what she really was. Not dull at all, the Duke said firmly. His voice had an edge now. Practical. Useful. Knowledge that helps people live better lives. He looked directly at Emma. I have a large library. You're most welcome to use it whenever you wish. Emma's heart nearly stopped beating. A real library? With real books? More books than she'd ever seen? I thank you, your grace. But I couldn't possibly. You can. You will. He turned back to Rose. Both of you are welcome, of course. Rose's smile looked painted on now. How generous of you. After dinner, the Duke stood. It's quite late. You must both be exhausted from your travels. Tomorrow, I'll show you around the estate grounds. They walked back toward their rooms together. As soon as they were alone, Rose grabbed Emma's arm, hard enough to bruise. What exactly do you think you're doing? Nothing. I didn't ask to eat with you. You're embarrassing me. Talking about sheep and farming like some peasant girl. I'm sorry, Rose. I truly am. I'll stay quiet tomorrow. You'll stay in your room. I don't need you getting in my way. Emma nodded quickly. It was better this way. Safer for everyone. She'd stepped out of her proper place. It wouldn't happen again. But alone in her beautiful room, she smiled. Just a little. Just for a moment. He'd asked her opinion. He'd listened to her answers. He'd offered her his library, his books. No, stop thinking like that. Don't dream impossible dreams. You know how this story ends. Rose will marry the Duke. He'll go back to corners and shadows. Back to being nobody. That's reality. That's life. She got ready for bed. The sheets were soft as clouds, so much softer than anything she'd ever slept on. Tomorrow she'd hide again. Be invisible again. It was safer in the shadows. A soft knock came at her door. Emma opened it carefully. A maid stood there. A real maid, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. From His Grace, she said. She handed Emma 3 books. Beautiful books with leather covers. He thought you might enjoy these tonight. Emma's hands trembled as she took them. Real books. One about farming and growing things. One full of poems about love and loss. One with stories of adventure and brave hearts. Please, tell his grace. Thank you. Tell him I'm grateful. The maid smiled knowingly. He's different. Our Duke. He sees things that others miss. Things that matter. After she left, Emma held the books like precious treasures. Which they were. To her they were everything. Maybe she could read tonight. Just tonight. Tomorrow. She'd hide and be proper. But tonight, she had books, and someone had thought of her. Really thought of her. That was enough. More than enough. It was everything she'd ever dreamed of.
What? Shh.
Morning came with golden sunlight through her window. Emma woke early. She always did. Old habits from years of serving others. But here, no bells rang harshly. No one shouted orders. Just peaceful quiet. She dressed in her gray dress. The same one. What else did she have? She owned nothing fine, and wouldn't wear it even if she did. Not her place. Never her place. The books sat by her bed. She'd read far too late. Couldn't help herself. Stories of faraway places, of different lives, of dreams written on paper with ink and hope. A gentle knock at her door. The same maid from last night, Mary, she'd said her name was. Breakfast is ready in the dining hall. His Grace asks, will you join him and Lady Rose? I should. Lady Rose might need me to dress her hair. Mary's face said everything without words. Lady Rose already ate, miss. Early. You said you were feeling poorly, but you don't look sick to me. Emma's stomach twisted with understanding. Rose was still angry. It was better to stay away. Safer for everyone. I'll eat here in my room. If that's allowed. His Grace won't like that much. But, I understand. Mary brought a tray with warm bread and jam. Real jam with pieces of fruit. He asks about you every morning, miss. Every single morning. Every morning? They'd been here 3 days now. Each day is exactly the same. Rose went downstairs. Emma stayed hidden in her room. It was safer this way. No one got hurt. No one got angry. But the books kept coming. New ones every day. With little notes tucked inside. Thought you might like this one. Or this is my favorite poem. Simple words written in strong handwriting. Kind words that made her heart skip. Emma helped Rose dress and fix her golden hair. She said nothing about breakfast. About books. About anything that mattered. Rose was happier when Emma stayed quiet. When she remembered her place. He's almost ready to propose, Rose said, admiring herself in the mirror. I can tell these things. Men are quite simple, really. Show them beauty. Laugh at their silly jokes. Agree with everything they say. They fall in line like trained dogs. Emma nodded and kept braiding. What else could she do? But something inside her felt sad. The Duke didn't seem simple. He seemed complicated. Deep. Like still water that runs deeper than you think. Fix this hem, Rose ordered. It's dragging on the ground. Emma knelt on the floor. Started sewing with quick, sure fingers. Years of practice had made her hands steady. Make others beautiful. Keep yourself plain and useful. That was the rule. You're very good at that. A man's voice. A deep and familiar. The Duke, standing in Rose's doorway. Emma froze like a startled deer. Your Grace. Rose practically sparkled with delight. You really shouldn't be in a lady's private chambers. It's quite improper. He ignored that completely. Kept watching Emma work with her needle and thread. Where did you learn to sew so well? Emma kept her eyes down, fixed on her stitches. My mother taught me, Your Grace. Before she died, she taught you very well indeed. He stepped closer. Emma could see his boots, fine leather, well made. What other skills do you have? William, truly. Rose tried to pull his attention back to herself. Emma's little talents aren't terribly interesting. I think they are quite interesting. His voice was firm but still kind. Please continue, Lady Emma. Emma's cheeks burned hot. Why did he care? I can cook simple meals. Clean and mend things. Tend kitchen gardens. Fix broken items. Nothing special, Your Grace. Everything useful. His smile was in his voice. Unlike dancing fancy steps, or speaking pretty gossip, or other so-called noble accomplishments. The room went silent. Heavy and dangerous. Rose's face turned red, then white. Emma wished desperately that she could disappear. Melt into the floor. Become invisible again. I have a state business to attend to, the Duke said finally. His tone was carefully polite. Lady Emma, would you walk with me? I'd like to discuss something. Emma's heart nearly stopped. I couldn't possibly. Your Grace, Rose needs me here. Actually, I don't need anything, Rose said quickly. Too quickly. Her voice was tight, Go ahead, Emma. Enjoy your walk. A trap? A test? Emma couldn't tell, but the Duke waited patiently, those kind eyes watching her. So she stood slowly, followed him from the room, her heart beating like a frightened bird's wing. Gah! They walked through the grand hallways in silence, past paintings of stern-faced ancestors, past windows that showed rolling green hills. Emma stayed 3 careful steps behind. The proper distance for a servant. The safe distance. The Duke stopped walking, turned to look at her. Please walk beside me, Lady Emma. Not behind me. It wouldn't be proper, Your Grace. I don't particularly care about proper. He waited patiently. I want to have a conversation, not speak behind your back. She moved up slowly, like approaching a wild animal that might startle and run. Don't presume. Don't hope. Don't forget your place. Much better. They continued walking side by side. Tell me honestly, do you like it here? Truth or polite lies? Emma chose carefully. It's beautiful, Your Grace. Like something from a dream. Dreams can be cold places, empty, without the right people to share them. What did he mean by that? Emma stayed quiet. Silence was usually safer than words. They reached a door she'd never seen before. He opened it and gestured for her to enter first. Inside was wonder, pure wonder. Rows and rows of plants in pots, green everywhere she looked. Warm air that smelled of earth and growing things. Sunlight streaming through glass walls and ceiling. My greenhouse, he said simply. I grow things here, experiment with new varieties. Try to find ways to help my tenants grow better crops. Emma forgot to be afraid. You do this for your tenants. To help them? Of course. What good is wealth if it doesn't help people? She touched a small plant's leaf. So gently, so reverently. Creating food isn't just work. It's almost sacred. Noble, even. His whole face lit up with joy. You really understand that, don't you? She nodded, then caught herself. But I'm nobody, Your Grace. My opinions don't matter to anyone. You are not nobody. His voice was fierce now, passionate. Never say that again. Not in my presence. Not anywhere. You matter, Emma. Your thoughts matter. Your feelings matter. You matter. Emma's eyes filled with tears. She couldn't let fall. Don't cry. Don't hope. Don't believe in impossible things. But his words, they planted tiny seeds in the careful garden of her guarded heart. Now, he said gently, let me show you how to help these plants grow. Shat. Days melted into weeks like honey and sunshine. Emma found her rhythm in this strange new life. Early mornings in the greenhouse before Rose woke up. Before questions and anger and complication, William taught her everything. Which plants loved shade, and which craved sunlight. How to mix rich soil that would feed growing roots. When to water and when to let earth rest. How to read the language that leaves spoke. You learn faster than anyone I've ever taught, he said one morning. Pride clear in his voice, like her success mattered to him. Like she mattered to him. Emma's hands grew dirtier each day, stained with honest earth, but her heart grew lighter. Plants didn't care about pretty faces or golden hair. They just grew toward whatever light they could find. Try planting these. William handed her a packet of tiny seeds, herbs for cooking and healing. I thought you might enjoy them. I could make things with these. Emma's excitement bubbled up before she could stop it. Soups that heal sickness. Teas that soothe pain. Even medicines for fevers. You know about healing herbs? She nodded eagerly. My mother taught me before she died. Simple country remedies. Nothing fancy, but they help people feel better. Show me everything. Teach me what you know. So she did. Mixed dried leaves and roots with careful hands. Explained what each plant could do. How to prepare them safely. He listened with complete attention, asked thoughtful questions. Even took notes in a leather book. This knowledge is valuable beyond gold, he said seriously. My tenants need this wisdom. Could you possibly teach them? Me? Teach other people? Emma nearly laughed with surprise. Your Grace, I'm not qualified to teach anyone anything. You know things that help people live better lives. That makes you more qualified than most teachers I know. The next week brought the most surprising day of Emma's entire life. They visited the tenant farmers. Simple, hard-working people. Families who lived in small cottages with gardens and chickens. People like her father had been before gambling destroyed their family. This is Lady Emma, William announced to a group of farm wives. She knows about healing plants and herbs. I've asked her to share her knowledge with all of you. The women welcomed her warmly. No one cared that her dress was gray and plain. No one judged her work, rough hands, or simple speech. They wanted to learn. They needed to learn. And somehow, she could teach them. She showed them which plants stopped bleeding from cuts, which ones eased the pain of childbirth, how to dry herbs properly so they keep their strength through winter months. The women listened carefully, asked good questions, thanked her with genuine gratitude. "You have a gift," one elderly woman said, patting Emma's hand. "A real gift for healing. Don't let anyone tell you different." Walking back to the great house, Emma felt different, somehow. Like she took up more space in the world. Like she mattered in ways she'd never imagined possible. "You were wonderful with them," William said quietly. "Natural, kind, exactly what they needed. I enjoyed it more than I can say. They made me feel useful, important, even. Because you are important." He stopped walking, looked directly into her eyes. "I hope you're beginning to see that about yourself." That night, Emma sat by her window, looking at stars. The same stars she'd wished on before leaving home, but everything had changed. She had changed. Like a plant that finally found the right soil and sunshine. She was learning to grow, learning to bloom, learning that maybe, just maybe, she was more than the shadow she'd always believed herself to be. But happiness, Emma was learning, could be as fragile as new spring flowers. Rose grew colder each day, meaner, like ice forming over a pond in winter. She'd stopped asking Emma to fix her hair or mend her clothes, stopped speaking to her at all, really, except to give sharp orders that cut like glass. "The Duke is delayed this morning," Rose announced one day. "Some tedious business with his steward. We'll walk in the garden without him." They walked in silence through perfectly trimmed hedges and flower beds. Rose's silk dress rustled with each step. Emma's worn boots made no sound on the gravel paths. "You think you're quite clever, don't you?" Rose said suddenly. Her voice was sweet as poisoned honey. "What do you mean?" "Playing innocent, making him feel sorry for you with your sad little story." Rose's mask was slipping, showing the anger beneath. "Did you really think I wouldn't notice?" Emma's heart began to race. "You don't understand. He barely looks at me anymore, barely speaks to me. All because of your pathetic attempts to get his attention." "Rose, that's not true. I've done nothing wrong." "Nothing wrong?" Rose's laugh was harsh, bitter. "You eat at his table, walk in his private gardens, spend time alone with him, like you're some kind of lady instead of what you really are." "What I really am? A servant, a charity case, a burden my family took in out of pity." Rose's blue eyes glittered with cruelty. "Did you forget? Your father was a drunk who lost everything. Your mother died in shame. You have nothing. You're a nothing." Each word hit like a physical blow. Emma stepped backward. "Yeah, I know my place." "Do you? Because it seems like you've forgotten completely." Rose moved closer. "Let me remind you. Your place is in the servants' quarters. Your place is taking my orders. Your place is being grateful for whatever scraps my family throws your way." Emma's eyes filled with tears. She refused to let fall. "I've never forgotten, not for a single moment." "Good. Then you'll remember tomorrow, when the Duke proposes to me, when I become his Duchess, when you go back to being what you've always been, nothing." Rose walked away with her head high and her silk skirt swirling, left Emma standing alone among the beautiful flowers, feeling smaller than she had in weeks, feeling like that frightened girl in the corner again. That evening Emma didn't go to dinner, couldn't face sitting at that grand table, couldn't pretend everything was normal when her world had cracked apart. A knock came at her door. Mary, the kind maid, with a worried expression. "His Grace asks why you weren't at dinner." He seemed quite concerned. "Please tell him I'm not feeling well." "Which is true. He wants to see you, to make sure you're all right." "No," Emma said quickly. "Too quickly. I mean, that's not necessary. I just need rest." Mary studied her face. "Did something happen? You look hurt." Emma forced a smile. "Nothing happened. I'm just tired." But Mary wasn't fooled. Lady Rose came back from her walk looking quite pleased with herself. "And you came back looking like someone had died. That's not a coincidence. Please, Mary, just tell His Grace. I'm fine. I'll be better tomorrow." After Mary left, Emma sat on her bed holding one of the Duke's books, the book of poems about love and loss, and finding hope in dark places. Tomorrow Rose would likely get her proposal. Tomorrow this strange dream would end. Tomorrow, Emma would remember exactly what she was, and what she wasn't. But tonight, she could read about love, even if it would never be hers. With Sewin, Emma woke to urgent knocking. Mary burst in without waiting for permission. Her face was pale with worry. "You must come quickly. There's been an accident in the village. A fire at the miller's cottage. People are hurt. Emma was dressed and running before Mary finished speaking. In the courtyard, a horse waited. Not a gentle mare for ladies. A real horse for real riding. Can you ride? William asked. Already mounted, his face was grim with concern. Yes, Emma had learned as a child. Before everything fell apart, before they lost the horses along with everything else, he pulled her up behind him. No time for proper saddles or side saddles or any of the things ladies were supposed to use. Emma held on tight as they galloped toward the village. The miller's cottage was half destroyed. Smoke is still rising from blackened timbers. People stood around looking lost and scared. A woman sat crying while a man held his burned hand against his chest. The herbs, Emma said, sliding down from the horse. I need my healing herbs, and clean water, and cloth for bandaging. William didn't question, just helped gather what she needed. Emma knelt beside the injured man first. His hand was badly burned, red and blistering. This will hurt at first, she said gently, but it will help the healing. She cleaned the burn carefully, applied a paste made from healing plants, wrapped it in soft cloth. The man's wife watched with tears of gratitude. Thank you, lady. Thank you for helping us. Lady, not a servant, not a charity case. Lady. Emma moved to the next person, a child with smoke in her lungs. Then an elderly woman with cuts from flying glass. She worked steadily, calmly. Her hands were sure and gentle. How did you know to do that? A village woman asked. About the herbs for burn. My mother taught me simple remedies that really work. She'd be proud of you today, the woman said. You're saving lives with what she taught you. William worked beside her, following her instructions without question, treating her like an equal, like someone whose knowledge mattered, whose skills were valuable. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky. Finally, everyone was treated, bandaged, given medicines to take home. The immediate crisis was over. You were extraordinary, William said as they rode home. Calm under pressure, skilled, caring. You saved that man's hand. Probably his life. Emma felt something new growing inside her chest. Pride, maybe. Or confidence. I just did what needed doing. Most people panic in emergencies. You didn't even hesitate. He was quiet for a moment. You're remarkable, Emma. I hope you're beginning to see that. They reached the manor as the sun was setting. Rose waited in the courtyard. Her face was a storm of anger and jealousy. Where have you been all day? I needed you here. There was an emergency in the village, William explained calmly. Emma helped save several lives today. Emma? Rose's voice was sharp. She's not trained in medicine. She could have made things worse. She knew exactly what to do. Her skill with healing herbs is remarkable. Rose's mask slipped completely. She's a servant, a nobody. She has no business playing doctor. The words hung in the air like poison. William's face went very still, very cold. What did you just say? I meant, Rose tried to recover, but it was too late. You called her a nobody, in my hearing, after she spent the day saving my people's lives. William, I didn't mean... Yes, you did. His voice was quiet, but deadly. You meant every word, just as you've meant every cruel thing you've said to her. Rose went pale. You've been listening to her lies about me. I've been watching, seeing how you treat someone you claim as family, someone who serves you loyally. William stepped closer to Rose. And I've seen enough. Emma stood frozen. This was her fault. She'd caused trouble between them, ruined Rose's chances. Your Grace, she started to say. Please don't. No, Emma. William's voice was gentle but firm. This conversation is long overdue. The great hall felt different that evening. Colder somehow, despite the fire blazing in the massive fireplace. Emma sat at the edge of her chair, ready to run. Rose sat perfectly straight, her mask back in place, but cracked around the edges. William paced by the windows. His usual calm was gone, replaced by something harder, more decisive. I've made my decision, he announced. About marriage, about the future. Rose's face lit up with hope. She smoothed her golden hair and straightened her silk dress. Oh, William, I'm so happy. I'm not marrying you, Rose. The words fell like stones into still water. Rose's face went through several changes. Shock, disbelief, anger, then calculation. You can't mean that. We're perfect together. I'm everything a duchess should be. You're everything I thought I wanted, William agreed. Beautiful, accomplished, well-bred, but you're not what I need. Then what do you need? Rose's voice was getting higher, more desperate. William looked directly at Emma. I need someone real, someone kind, Someone who sees people as human beings, not as things to use. Emma's heart stopped beating. Surely he didn't mean, he couldn't possibly. You want her? Rose pointed at Emma like she was something disgusting. That plain little mouse? That servant? I want Emma, William said clearly. If she'll have me. The room spun around Emma. This was impossible. Dukes didn't marry servants. Rich men didn't choose plain women over beautiful ones. This didn't happen in real life. Emma, William's voice was gentle now. Look at me, please. She raised her eyes to his, saw something there that made her breath catch. Something warm and real and true. I'm not offering you what I offered, Rose, he continued. A marriage of convenience. A business arrangement. I'm offering you my heart. My real heart. Your Grace. Emma's voice was barely a whisper. I'm nothing. Nobody. You could have anyone. I don't want anyone. I want you. The woman who saves lives with gentle hands, who makes plants grow with patient care, who sees the good in everyone, even those who hurt you. Rose made a sound like a wounded animal. This is insane. She has nothing. No money, no family, no position. She has everything that matters. William never looked away from Emma. Kindness. Intelligence. Real beauty that comes from inside. And courage, though she doesn't know it yet. Courage? Emma almost laughed. I'm the most cowardly person alive. You left everything you knew to help your cousin. You learned new skills even when people mocked you. You saved lives today without hesitation. You've survived cruelty with your heart intact. William stepped closer. That's not cowardice, Emma. That's extraordinary bravery. Emma felt something breaking inside her chest. Not breaking apart, breaking open. Like a shell that had kept her hidden for too long. But I don't know how to be a duchess. I don't know about parties and protocols, and you know how to heal people, how to grow things, how to be kind when the world is cruel. That's what this duchy needs. That's what I need. Rose stood up sharply. This is ridiculous. You can't seriously choose her over me. I already have. William's voice was final. I'll arrange for your comfortable journey home tomorrow, with appropriate compensation for your travel and time. You'll regret this. Rose's beautiful face was ugly with rage. When you remember what she really is. When society laughs at you for marrying beneath yourself. Society can think whatever it likes. I know what Emma is. She's the woman I love. Love. He'd said love. Emma's legs gave out. She sat down hard in her chair. Emma? William knelt beside her chair. Are you all right? I know this is sudden. You love me. The words came out like a prayer, like hope she'd never dared voice. Completely. Absolutely. From almost the first moment I saw you, his smile was soft and real. When you tried so hard to be invisible, when you talked about sheep and wheat like they mattered. When you chose books about farming over novels about romance. But I'm not beautiful like Rose. You're beautiful in ways Rose never could be. Beautiful here. He touched her hand. And here. He touched her heart. That's the beauty that lasts, Emma. That's the beauty that matters. Emma looked into his kind eyes. Saw truth there, saw love there, saw a future she'd never dared imagine. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. If you're absolutely certain. I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Rose stormed from the room in a rustle of silk and fury. But Emma barely noticed. She was too busy learning what it felt like when impossible dreams came true. The wedding was small, simple, nothing like the grand society event Rose had planned and dreamed about. Emma wore a dress of soft blue wool, not silk, not satin, but clean and well-made and comfortable. William wore his finest coat, but his eyes were what made him handsome. The way he looked at Emma like she was the most precious thing in his world. The village people came. The families Emma had helped during the fire. The tenant farmers who'd learned about healing herbs from her gentle teaching. They filled the small chapel with genuine joy and warm wishes. She's a real lady, Emma heard one farmer's wife whisper. Kind and helpful. She'll make a good duchess for us. Emma's heart swelled. These people saw her worth, valued her contributions, made her feel like she belonged somewhere at last. The ceremony was beautiful in its simplicity. No grand orchestra. Just the village choir singing with heartfelt voices. No elaborate decorations. Just spring flowers from the estate gardens. No hundreds of fashionable guests. Just people who actually cared about their happiness. When William slipped the ring onto Emma's finger, he whispered, Thank you for seeing past my title to my heart. Thank you for seeing past my appearance to my soul, she whispered back. Mary cried happy tears from the front pew. Even James, The serious advisor smiled genuinely as he watched his duke choose love over duty. It's 2 years later, Emma stood in her expanded greenhouse. Now it was 3 times larger, filled with healing plants and food crops and experimental varieties that might help the estate's families live better lives. She wore a simple green dress, comfortable for working. Her hands were as earth-stained as ever, but now she wore William's ring alongside the dirt under her fingernails. The new mothers in the village are all healthy, she reported to William as he entered with mud on his own boots. The herbs we planted last spring are working perfectly, and the wheat experiment, growing beautifully. We should have enough seed to share with every tenant farmer next season. William smiled and pulled her into his arms. Have I mentioned lately that I love you, Duchess Emma? Only every day, she smiled back. Have I mentioned that you chose well when you picked the mouse over the golden bird? You were never a mouse. You were a seed waiting for the right soil to grow in. They worked side by side as the sun set, planning next season's crops, discussing which villages needed medical visits, making decisions that would help real people live better lives. Emma had learned something important in these 2 years. Beauty wasn't about golden hair or silk dresses or perfect smiles. Beauty was about growing things, healing things, making life better for others. She'd also learned that love wasn't about being perfect. Love was about being real, being kind, being brave enough to let someone see your true heart. That evening, they received a letter. Rose had married a wealthy merchant in London, a man who valued her beauty and social skills. By all accounts, she was happy with her fashionable life and important parties. I'm glad for her, Emma said, and meant it. She found what she wanted, and so did we. So did we, William agreed. Though I got far more than I wanted, I got everything I needed. As night fell over their estate, Emma looked out at the gardens they'd planted together, the villages they'd helped improve, the lives they'd touched with simple kindness. She'd come here as nobody, a shadow in gray wool. She'd found love, purpose, and a place where she belonged. Most importantly, she'd found herself. The real Emma, who'd been hidden inside all along. Sometimes the most beautiful love stories weren't about glass slippers or fairy godmothers. Sometimes they were about 2 real people who saw past surfaces to souls, who chose kindness over beauty, who grew something lasting in simple, honest soil. Emma had learned to bloom, and in blooming, she'd helped others find their own light. That was better than any crown, better than any title, better than any fairy tale ending she could have imagined. Love, she discovered, grew best in real gardens, with real hands and real hearts that chose each other every single day.